Well, hello, my name is Precious Miller, Director of Basic Needs and Belonging with the Michigan Community College Association. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Brandy Johnson, President of the Michigan Community College Association. Thank you so much, Brandy, for your time and for allowing me to talk with you today about diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Thank
I,
you. I'm pleased to be here with you.
Thank you. I do have a few questions to better understand the mission and vision of MCCA. My first question is, MCCA has adopted a new strategic plan that includes a revised vision and mission statement, but it also includes strategies that prioritize diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging at the Community College Association. Can you briefly share the overarching goal around this effort?
Yeah, absolutely. I am relatively new to the association. I have been the president for only 11 months. My predecessor had been here for 15 years. And one of the very first things I asked my board of directors for when I started a little less than a year ago was to go with me on a journey toward a refreshed strategic plan. The last time that MCCA had done a strategic plan was before the pandemic. And we know that our lives have changed, and really the lives of our students have fundamentally changed post-pandemic. And so with my new leadership and with this new reality that we were living in, my board of directors and I started a 6-month long strategic planning process, of course, in close partnership with the staff at MCCA. What came out of that process, I think, was a couple of things. Certainly a new sense of unification amongst the colleges within the association. MCCA is now home to 31 community college, including 28 of our traditional publicly funded community colleges, as well as the addition of 3 tribal colleges. Just the fact that we invited the tribal colleges to join the MCCA, which it took an amendment to our bylaws, I think speaks volumes about how far the association has come on our own DEIB journey. But together we rallied around a new strategic plan, which includes a new mission statement, a new vision statement, and a new set of strategies. The board of directors adopted the strategic plan at the end of our summer conference at the end of July. Our new mission statement is that we are the voice for Michigan's community college, the unified voice for Michigan's community colleges, empowering our members to lead in the areas of student success, talent development, and community vitality. The fact that we have the word student success in the mission statement of the association is a first for the association. A lot of our DEI work has lived within the Center for Student Success. And I'm really proud to say that one of the first things that we are doing is integrating the work of the Center for Student Success with the fabric of the association. It's no longer the MCCA is over here, and then sort of a dotted line subsidiary is the Center for Student Success, which does all of that work relating to achieving equitable student outcomes. Those two things have now been fully integrated, and I think that the work of the Center for Student Success is the work of the association, and the work of the association is the work of the Center for Student Success. Our new vision statement includes a couple of planks about what we will be focusing on, including our advocacy strategy, increasing public awareness of community colleges, supporting our members delivering training, and then specifically to champion the strategies necessary to achieve equitable student success, emphasizing linkages between policy, practice, and research. Again, we baked in that commitment to equity in our, not only in our vision statement, but also our vision statement. And then of course, continuing to foster collaboration, connection, and partnerships amongst community colleges and stakeholders. And then lastly, as it relates to our strategic plan, we had a strategic planning committee that worked closely with me and our facilitators to develop the meat of the plan. And we really debated about, if a commitment to equity should be in the plan, if it should be sort of embedded throughout or sprinkled throughout, where all of our strategies have, a mention of equity. But it was really our board chair, Dr. Beverly, that said, if it isn't its own priority, it isn't a priority. And so it was really her leadership, Dr. Beverly Walker-Graffia, the president of Mott Community College, that led us to develop a specific priority area around diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So it is a standalone part of our strategic plan, and its goal is that we at MCCA develop a comprehensive commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging by including DEIB principles and practices in all of our work.
Mm-hmm. Wow, Brandy, I really appreciate your championship and your leadership around the new strategic plan and really rallying us as an association, but also our member colleges around this effort of equity. You had mentioned equity about not having it sprinkled throughout, but really having it being a standalone focus and a priority that will oversee all of what we do as an association and with our member colleges. Is there anything else you'd like to share specifically about the strategies that MCCA will pursue to close equity gaps for students who have traditionally been disadvantaged by our higher education systems?
Yeah, so I'll name a couple, and I'll say that we're just getting started. So I anticipate this strategic plan will last us about 5 years. And we're just starting to roll up our sleeves and dig into it and set some short-term, medium-term, and long-term priorities. A couple of the strategies that we actually named in the strategic plan include bringing an equity lens to MCCA's public policy discussions. So and that is our primary strategy as the association. Advocacy and public policy advocacy is kind of our bread and butter. So a commitment to bringing an equity lens when talking about policy. Second, to embed DEIB principles in all of our programs and services of the association. And so that's going to require the staff especially doing a hard look internally and sort of auditing ourselves around those principles. The third, and this is one that got a lot of discussion and really traction with our board, is to provide DEI specific training opportunities or professional development opportunities to MCCA's board, staff, and stakeholders. And I think that's one that we are going to tackle first. It's important to remember that MCCA represents, all of the colleges, but specifically our board of directors doesn't just include the presidents at the association for each of the community colleges, but also all of the elected, in some cases appointed trustees that govern the associations. And so I think one area that we really want to put a lot of time and attention into is developing a suite of professional development opportunities for trustees about their role in DEI as the governing boards of their colleges and the ones setting the policy at each of the colleges. I think will be really powerful and a unique capacity builder that really only the association can provide. And then fourth, to focus student success strategies on closing equity gaps and serving historically marginalized populations. And just our student success staff, and I'm not just saying this because I'm talking to one of them, but Dr. Erica Orions and Jenny Shanker and Precious Miller do an incredible job helping translate that research to practice for our member colleges. So really empowering them to lead our efforts around those strategies.
Wow. Thank you for going in depth, in detail of what strategies MCCA is going to employ to make sure that we are closing the equity gaps, but also sharing that how we all have a role to play in this. And I really appreciated your mention of the self-assessment that can be done as we are all pursuing equitable student outcomes, which leads us into our next question about the development of a diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging affinity group. What type of impact can you envision this group of equity champions having on the Michigan Community College ecosystem?
Yeah, one of the things I really enjoyed during my first year is getting to know our alphabet soup of affinity groups that the MCCA is affiliated with. And so since I've started, I regularly meet with the business officers or the financial aid directors or the athletic directors. Shortly after we started, there were some really scary cybersecurity attacks in Michigan, and we realized we didn't have an information technology affinity group, and so right now we're working to stand that up. And it was sort of that process of realizing we didn't have an IT director's affinity group that came up during the strategic planning process. And one of our presidents says, why the hell do we not have a DEI affinity group? And it was just like a light bulb moment. And so that was the very, very first thing that we did when we adopted the strategic plan, thanks to your leadership, Precious, is start to form that group and to help bring them together to learn from each other. Really, I think that, I guess I would say two things. What the association can do is like really the bare minimum of what we should have always been doing, which is just providing space and time and support for these individuals with similar jobs or roles on their campuses to get together, learn from each other, and support each other. I think peer networking is hugely important. Whenever I meet with my peers from other associations in other states, I get the most out of it than any other type of professional development I do. And the same, I think, will be true of the affinity group. What I think we will get out of it, frankly and selfishly, is an incredible feedback loop on policy. As I mentioned, our number one strategy at the association historically has been, and I think will continue to be, public policy and advocacy, which we think is the biggest lever to make change. We want to be that very influential higher education voice in all areas that impact community colleges. And I hope that this DEI affinity group informs that voice. I want to present, for example, draft legislation that is coming up, that something that might impact community colleges, for the feedback of these equity experts and leaders, to get their voice infused in what MCCA's position will be or advocacy strategy will be. So by having an organized group of individuals that we can connect with, I think that will be incredibly important and useful to help inform MCCA's voice in Lansing and in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Wow. Brandy, thank you for being so willing to want to hear and positioning yourself to receive that feedback loop that you had mentioned from the affinity group. And I believe that we will see a huge impact on the ecosystem of higher education, specifically in Michigan. Is there anything additional you would like to share with our audience today?
Just, I guess two things. One, this work is really personal to me. I am a very proud first generation college going student. No one in my family had ever pursued post-secondary education before I did. And I I really did experience that imposter syndrome when I went to college. I lived in a dorm, and I was one of the few kids that didn't have their own personal laptop to bring to college with me. And so I had to go at all hours of the night to, which we had a 24-hour computer lab, which I think is actually a really good equity strategy. But that's where I would have to go to write my papers or print my papers. And I remember feeling that sense of non-belonging, of that I didn't belong. And it's something that has always, and just not having, knowing the lingo and not knowing how to navigate the systems that were developed by people that have had generations of their family go to college. And so I just wanted to say out loud that this work is really quite personal to me. Earlier in my career, I started the Michigan College Access Network, which is a 501c3 mission-driven nonprofit organization that seeks to improve college readiness, enrollment, and completion rates, particularly among low-income students, first-generation college-going students, and students of color. And so when I led that organization, I developed a great deal of experience of the really hard organizational equity work, particularly from a statewide perspective as an intermediary. And so I also just wanted to say that I hope to bring some of that experience that I had at MCAN to bear in this new work of the association. And so I'm, well, I shouldn't say it's new, but I guess it's more dedicated and intentional than it's ever been. I think that is kind of the difference between previous versions of our strategic plan and now, is the real intentionality of DEI. And I just feel so blessed that I get to work with you, Precious, on implementing all of this. So I'm really looking forward to very regularly meeting with this affinity group, and yeah, I can't wait to see what happens.
Wow. Well, thank you for your candor, Brandy. It is always a pleasure talking with you, and thank you for your leadership at Michigan Community College Association.
Thank you.